Hey folks, my name is Ben Adams. I'm the founder, president, and chief dishwasher here at FieldSim. We're the company behind the training product line known as FireAlarm.Training. I thought I'd take a minute and share a bit of my story and how I came to launch this company and these training courses. I originally wrote all this out and had a really long About Us page, but then I remembered that part of our focus here is video first. So here we are. I began my career in the fire alarm industry as a helper at FireMaster back in 1996. Initially, I spent some time on the special hazard side, but then I had an opportunity to switch over to the fire alarm side and work directly under my old scoutmaster. Together, he and I made up the primary service team for North Texas. I spent a lot of time doing inspections, troubleshooting ground faults, and fixing dialer issues. We were also responsible for small move-add change work, like adding a strobe in an office building. Our branch didn't have a large install team, so I occasionally got loaned out to the install side. That gave me exposure to panel upgrades and other install work. By the end of my first year, I had my Texas fire alarm license and my own service van. It's actually still really amazing to me that a 19-year-old can be given that much responsibility in a life safety industry. After FireMaster, my next employer was a notifier distributor. Although I was hired on for a service role, I quickly found myself running a 40-story retrofit and code upgrade. I definitely wasn't very good at pulling wire when I started, but I sure learned quickly. Eventually, I found myself back at a company with a stronger focus on special hazards. Again, I was hired on for a service role, but within no time I was managing the FM200 detection and suppression install for a 20,000 square foot data center. 6 months into the job, I was promoted to division manager. Suddenly, I had to learn estimating, sales, billing, and engineering. I eventually went to work for a global company, Siemens. In addition to paying well, they provided me with a lot more challenges and a lot more opportunities to learn and hone my skills. I spent 8 years at Siemens, with the last 3 as a branch general manager. Throughout my career, education has been very important to me. When I was studying for the Texas fire alarm license test in 1997, I read NFPA 72, the 1996 edition, cover to cover. I had also read significant portions of the various 1993 codes. This is back before they were all combined into the NFPA 72 code we know today. I further expanded my studies by pursuing NICET certifications. I am certified level 4 in fire alarm and have completed the testing through level 3 in special hazards. I also put myself through school at night for a bachelor's and later a master's degree. Besides investing in my own education, I also took the time to teach others. When I was in the field, I was fortunate to work for people who believed in utilizing 2+ person crews instead of having everyone work on their own. I love teaching the helpers and less experienced techs who work with me. When I became branch manager the first time, I started holding classes on a regular basis. I even developed a set of assessments to gauge the skill level of existing and potential employees so that we could work on closing skill gaps and improve our hiring process. In 2007, I started teaching fire alarm classes in the evening at Construction Education Foundation, CEF, which operates under the umbrella of Dallas College. Reflecting back on my experience, a few things stand out. First, I learned a lot of things that were incorrect, especially on the install side. I'm still embarrassed by all the wire that I ran improperly when I didn't know better. It also took me a long time to understand how the different codes work together. For instance, when I put together my first estimate, I scoured NFPA 72 for clues as to what devices would be required for that residential condo building. It wasn't quite a high-rise. I had no idea what the International Fire Code was, but I was pretty sure that it applied to countries outside the U.S. I mean, come on, surely the National Fire Protection Association covered the U.S. and the International Fire Code covered everybody else, right? Whew, how little I knew. In the end, I quoted full voice of vac and smokes just about everywhere I had ever seen a detector, including corridors, every room in the condos, and even at the top of the stairwells. Needless to say, my price was about double the next guy's, and I didn't even have a good grasp of my overhead costs yet. Another thing I learned along the way is that it's a significant challenge to train your staff. It was all on me as I grew a small division into a separate branch. Eventually, I hired an ops manager and expected him to take on that responsibility. There were so many challenges, though. First, he was a decent tech, but he didn't have any training or experience that would help him be a good teacher or coach. Second, we were so busy that he didn't really have the time to do any training. I also wanted my more senior techs to take on that responsibility and teach the newer guys, but the reality is I didn't really set them up to be successful. Training someone else takes time. If I really wanted the experienced guys to teach the new guys, I should have probably given them more time to do their job. Instead, the unspoken assumption was that since there were two of them, they should be able to get their job done in about half the time. Now, that experience was at a small regional company. However, it showed itself to be true again at Siemens. My team managed to double the fire alarm service business 3 years in a row. That forced us to have some serious conversations about how we were going to meet our staffing needs. I was also pushing the team to bring install work in-house rather than sub it out. We spent a lot of time and effort working on our staffing plans. In addition to phasing out our subs, I wanted to lower our average labor cost and be able to tap into an expanded hiring pool. My hope was that we could predominantly hire inexperienced helpers and develop them into strong techs. The unfortunate reality was that we just weren't set up to be able to develop new talent. In the end, we did hire a couple inexperienced folks, but we also brought on several experienced techs as well, and we continued to rely heavily on our subcontractor partners for install work. There's one particular light bulb moment at Siemens that I want to share. I had created a software application for managing skills assessments. It allowed tech supervisors to determine the biggest skills gaps on their teams, not just at the individual level like I had done previously. That way they could plan training classes accordingly. We had our team, inspectors, installers, and service techs, take the assessments. I was shocked by how poorly they performed. And that's not a knock against these guys or Siemens. Several of them are senior techs who repeatedly deliver great results for their customers, get consistently high ratings on their annual reviews, and are regularly sought after by recruiters. Still, there was a lot that they didn't know. I had seen that earlier in my assessment testing before joining Siemens, but seeing team-level results really helped it sink home. Upon reflection, I might have been tempted to write some of the poor performance off to them just being poor test takers or anxious. But the results were reinforced at one of our training sessions. When I was at CEF, I had created some troubleshooting boards. One of them had rows of strobes and used banana plugs on the back to make up the circuits. The instructor could easily introduce faults such as opens, shorts, reverse polarity, and ground faults. And since CEF had gotten out of teaching fire alarm classes in 2012, they were kind enough to give me the boards. So I used the troubleshooting boards for class with the fire team at Siemens. I shouldn't have been, but I was surprised again at the way in which many of our techs really struggled with troubleshooting and meter skills. But then, who can blame them? Where is there a class that teaches that? I've looked around many times for good tech training. There is some in-person training, but it's expensive and doesn't appear to go very in-depth because it only lasts a couple of days. Some of the courses are offered at hotels, which means most of the class is probably death by PowerPoint. There are several companies offering online training, good companies I might add, but the training is heavily focused on the codes to pass a test, i.e. it's great for studying for NICET, but it's not going to help you learn how to install a box on a control valve and wire up a tamper switch. In my mind, these courses are most appropriate for designers and senior techs. There are also a lot of classes available that are focused on specific products. That was most of the training that our guys went to at Siemens. When I was in the field, I practically begged to go to notifier school and never got the chance. I did enjoy my kit-a-fenwal training though. However, all of that was focused on how to use specific equipment. It wasn't focused on general tech skills. I left Siemens for family reasons in early 2020. We were getting the house ready to sell because we needed to relocate, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. As sometimes happens when you have to move for personal reasons, I had left my job without knowing where I was going next. I was looking really hard at pivoting into a product management role in the software space when I made a discovery. For years, I had wanted to digitize that training board I created at CEF. In the spring of 2020, I stumbled across some technology that has matured in the last few years that would allow me to finally make that happen. I started coding, and within a few months had solved the electrical engineering challenges and had the back end working. I wanted to make sure I was headed in the right direction, so I took some time to conduct some informational interviews with 20 or so prospective customers. Everybody seemed really impressed, but nearly every company explained that what they really needed was training focused on more basic skills for their newer techs. I heard manager after manager recount a story that closely matched my own experience. They are short-staffed, they can't find good techs, even mediocre techs are ridiculously expensive, and they don't have the capacity to train anyone new. They asked me if I could develop training for new folks with an emphasis on their first 90 days. Something where they could hire somebody green and sit them in front of a computer for a couple of weeks before sending them to the field. Then, when they go out to the field, they could add value right away instead of it taking 3 to 6 months to get ramped up. So I listened. I put the virtual troubleshooting simulator on hold and started writing out scripts for more basic courses. I built a soundstage/film studio here at the house. We had moved by this point. And I started recording content. Once vaccinations started to ramp up in 2021, I started being able to go out to job sites and film actual work in the field. My scripts for the first 15 courses total approximately 100,000 words. A bunch of the scenes have already been filmed. As of this filming, in August 2021, one course is fully done and 4 more are close. Once those are done, it'll be time to launch an annual subscription option so that you can pay one price for the full year and get access to a ton more videos. Along with that, I'll be launching team accounts. That way supervisors can buy a bundle of subscriptions, assign courses to their team members, and track their progress. There's going to be way more than 15 courses, by the way. I have around 75 courses planned, so I'll be working on filming content for a while. Right now, I'm the only full-time employee. If things go well enough, I will be hiring people to help. I'm looking forward to that because it will help me deliver value more quickly. I'm also looking forward to being able to continue developing my virtual troubleshooting simulator. While it will initially be generic, the capability is there for me to create custom simulators for real-world fire alarm panels. Imagine being able to get factory training on your favorite panel, including hands-on with a demo panel whenever it's convenient for you, and without having to leave the comfort of your couch or fire control room. If you're curious what this would look like, I'll put a link to a fake example down below and at the end of this video. So, I realized this was kind of a long video. What can I say? I like to explain things thoroughly, which I guess is a good thing since that's my job now. Here's the TLDR. At FieldSim, we're doing our best to simulate the field environment so that people can learn new skills online at their own pace. Our first product offering is a catalog of fire alarm courses called FireAlarm.Training. These are starting at the basic level and gradually progressing to more advanced skills. To start out, we're just offering courses individually, but it won't be long before we add bulk licenses and the ability to manage course assignments for your team. We really want this to be a tool for companies to use to help develop their teams. In fact, depending on when you're watching this, that will probably already be a reality. Lastly, I just want to say that I wouldn't be here without the candid feedback and warm support from a lot of different people. If you have any feedback for me, I'm all ears. At the bottom of every page of our site is a questions and comments link. Feel free to send me your thoughts. And thank you in advance for your support.